Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into a new topic.
Absolutely, always ready to dig in.
Today we're looking at something that's actually a pretty big deal globally. Early childhood caries,
ECC?
right? ECC,
Yeah.
or as most people call them,
Oh,
cavities in baby teeth.
I know. I know. You're probably thinking those little teeth are going to fall out anyway. So why?
Exactly.
Why is this such a big deal?
It's a great question, and honestly, it's something that often gets overlooked.
Well, we're here to shine a light on it. We've got some research here that links those tiny teeth to much bigger issues.
It is fascinating, isn't it, how something seemingly insignificant, like a cavity in a baby tooth, can actually be a red flag for bigger global health disparities.
Okay, so let's break this down. Before we get all global, can you walk me through how dentists define early childhood caries?
So early childhood caries, or ECC, is defined by something called the Bangkok Declaration. And essentially, it boils down to the presence of cavities in any baby teeth in a child under 6. So we're not messing around here. This is anything from a little, I don't know, a little discoloration to a full-on cavity.
Precisely. Even those very early stages of decay are significant
Mm.
because they can be a sign of kind of bigger issues to come, both for the child's oral health, but potentially for their overall health as well.
So you said this connects to global health disparities. What makes ECC such a big deal on a global scale?
Well, one of the most alarming things is just how incredibly common ECC is. The research we're looking at today, it analyzed data from 67 countries across 5 continents. So a really significant sample size here. And they found that almost half of all preschool-aged children globally are affected by ECC.
Wow, that's a huge number.
It is a huge number. And here's where it gets really interesting, is that number shifts dramatically depending on where you look.
Okay, so it's not all evenly distributed around the world.
Yeah.
Are we talking small differences or are we talking major discrepancies?
We're talking big time differences.
Give me an example.
Sure. So for example, the average rate of ECC in Africa is around 30%. While in Oceania, that number skyrockets to 82%.
That's more than double.
More than double. And even within the same country, you see massive variations. Oh yeah, huge.
Like where?
So in China, for instance, ECC rates fluctuate from a low of about 35% to a staggering 89% depending on the region.
89%, so almost 9 out of 10 kids in some areas. What could be causing such a massive difference within the same country?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And it speaks to just this very complex interplay of factors that are at play here. Access to dental care is a huge piece of the puzzle. In some regions, even finding a dentist, let alone being able to afford to see one, can be a major, major barrier.
So a child's access or lack thereof to dental care is a major player here. What other factors contribute to these disparities?
Well, socioeconomic factors are absolutely crucial. Things like a family's income, their level of education, even what part of a city they live in can all have an impact on a child's risk of developing ECC.
So literally where you live can affect your likelihood of getting cavities.
It's incredible, isn't it?
It feels like a domino effect almost.
It is. It highlights how interconnected these issues really are. It's not just about individual families or individual choices. We need to look at, cultural influences, a country's political landscape, the kind of healthcare policies they prioritize. All of these things kind of feed into a nation's ECC rate.
This particular research that we're looking at focuses on cavities, correct?
That's right.
Which means the damage is already done.
Yes.
Does that skew our understanding of the problem?
That's an excellent point. It's a bit like measuring how many trees have already burned in a forest fire. It gives us a sense of the damage, for sure, but ideally we need to get better at preventing those fires in the first place.
So instead of just focusing on, fixing the damage after it's happened, so filling those cavities,
No.
should we be looking more at prevention? Especially when we're talking about, such young children.
Absolutely. I think, shifting our focus from drill and fill to prevent and protect is absolutely crucial, especially when we're talking about those vulnerable baby teeth.
How do we even do that? Like, where do we begin?
Well, a lot of the current programs, they tend to focus on school-aged children, but, this research really suggests that we need to be starting much earlier than that. Those baby teeth, they're susceptible from the moment they erupt.
So you're saying we need to be giving parents the knowledge and the tools, like right off the bat.
Precisely, yeah. And the good news is that we have that knowledge, right? Increased access to fluoride, early dental visits, and educating parents on, really simple things like proper oral hygiene for their little ones. These are all key elements of prevention.
Okay, so let's unpack those a little bit. What's the deal with fluoride? I know it's Like, good for teeth, but how does it actually work?
So fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral. And basically what it does is it strengthens tooth enamel and makes it more resistant to kind of those acid attacks that cause cavities. It's like giving your teeth, a protective shield.
Okay, I like that, like a suit of armor for your teeth.
Hmm.
So how do we make sure that kids are getting enough fluoride? Is it all about the toothpaste we use?
Toothpaste is definitely one source, but it's not the only one. Some communities, they actually add fluoride to their water supply, which has been shown to be, a really safe and effective way to reduce cavities on a much larger scale.
Right, yeah, I've heard of that.
Mm.
Now, when we talk about early dental visits, how early are we really talking about? Like, should I be making an appointment for my 6-month-old?
Most dental professionals recommend a child's first dental visit by the time they turn 1 year old, or within 6 months of their first tooth erupting, whichever comes first.
Wow, see, I'm learning something new already that's much earlier than I would have thought.
Yeah, you're not alone. A lot of parents, aren't aware of that recommendation, which is why it's so important to kind of, raise awareness around early dental care.
So we've got fluoride, we've got the early dental visits.
Mhm.
What about educating parents? What are some of the things that we need to be, like, equipping parents with?
Well, empowering parents with just, that practical knowledge, those skills, that's huge. So things like proper brushing techniques,
Hmm.
the importance of flossing, even those tiny little baby teeth, and, encouraging parents to make healthy dietary choices for their kids as well.
Right, because it's not just about, like, how often we brush. It's what we're, putting into our bodies as well that can impact our teeth.
100%. Sugary drinks, sugary snacks, those are the big culprits when it comes to cavities. So teaching parents about making healthier choices for their kids' snacks, their drinks, that's essential.
It sounds like, it's a multifaceted approach that we need to be taking here. We need to be hitting it from all angles.
Mm.
The fluoride, the early dental care, the parental education.
Mm.
It's encouraging to know that we have the information and we have the tools, but it also sounds like a massive undertaking.
It is a massive undertaking, and I think this research is a really powerful reminder that we need to be prioritizing prevention and early intervention. Waiting until those baby teeth are, riddled with cavities, that's not the answer. We have to be proactive.
You mentioned earlier that ECC could even have an impact on a child's performance in school. How does that work? What's that connection?
Well, imagine a child who's struggling with chronic tooth pain, right? They may have difficulty concentrating in class, they might experience sleep disturbances, they might even miss school because of dental emergencies. And all of these factors can really negatively impact a child's ability to learn and to thrive in school.
I never even considered that connection before.
Yeah, it's something that we don't often think about.
It really highlights how widespread the impact of ECC can be. It's not just a toothache, it's not just about teeth. It really affects a child's overall well-being.
Precisely. And I think this really emphasizes the need to address ECC as part of a much more kind of holistic approach to a child's health and development.
We've established that this is a global issue, but some regions are definitely more heavily affected than others. What makes certain communities more vulnerable?
That's a really important question, and honestly, it's something that researchers are, working hard to understand. It is a complex interplay of factors, but poverty is undoubtedly a major one. Families living below the poverty line often lack access to nutritious food, clean water, even just basic dental care.
It's almost like a vicious cycle, right? Like poverty contributes to poorer oral health, which then leads to other problems, which makes it even more challenging to kind of break free from that cycle.
Exactly, yeah. It's a really complex issue.
And this is where, things like public health initiatives, government policies, those things play a really big role, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, investing in programs that are going to provide dental care for, low-income families, increasing access to nutritious and affordable food, promoting oral health education. These are all steps in the right direction.
100%. Yeah, we've got to be tackling this from all angles.
I mean, it does feel like kind of like a monumental task when you really think about how widespread this problem is. But is it all doom and gloom? Are there bright spots?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's easy to get overwhelmed by, the sheer scale of the issue. But I think, it's important to remember that even small changes can have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
Something as simple as making sure that all children have access to fluoride toothpaste, for example, that can make a huge dent in those ECC rates that we've been talking about.
That is a bright spot. I like that. Knowing that, even these seemingly small steps can make a big difference, that's encouraging. What else gives you hope, in your field?
I think Research like this, shining a light on a critical global health issue like this, that's what gives me hope. Because it's like, by bringing this issue to the forefront, we're creating a roadmap for action. It's a call to action for policymakers, for healthcare providers, for communities around the world to say, hey, we need to be prioritizing early childhood oral health.
It really makes you wonder, like, what could we accomplish if every child had the opportunity to, start life with healthy teeth? It's more than just a smile. It's about setting them up for a healthier future overall.
100%. You've hit the nail on the head. It's about recognizing that those baby teeth, they're more important than we often give them credit for, and we need to be taking action to protect them.
Well, you've definitely given me a lot to think about. Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with us today.
It's been a pleasure, as always.
And to everyone listening, until next time, keep those pearly whites sparkling.